Hello everyone, welcome back to the Scrap Zone. I'm Julie. In today's video, I'm going to share with you my scrapbooking workshop using the Crisp Air paper collection. I have lots to share with you today, so let's jump right in. Let's start right here with layout number 1. As I mentioned, I have 3 layouts for you today. We are using the Crisp Air paper collection and it will be available until the end of September. This is a gorgeous paper pack. If you love fall, you are going to love this collection. Now, I'm going to concentrate my efforts on the stickers, the digital art collection, and if that's not for you, you can definitely use these great Picture My Life cards. They are fantastic. We're going to get back to this sticker sheet in one moment. There's tons of stickers on it. So when I was doing this layout, originally I wanted to use the branding strip or the zip strip right up here. I just really like the color and the combination, but when I pulled in the stickers, I just felt that there was too much going on. The zip strip is gorgeous. We've got the pumpkins here and we have the stickers and everything is kind of the same size. So I thought, okay, let's bring in the color of the year melon shimmer trim and look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? It's absolutely stunning and it's not fighting with everything else I want to put on this page. Now the first thing you want to do is cut a few circles. These measure 2 1/4, and the reason for that is they're really going to help me ground my clusters, and it's a lot easier to start with kind of like a little base if you want. So you can see here that I'm just kind of adding them to my double page layout. I'm trying to follow that visual triangle. And you'll also notice that I'm pulling the white from the pattern paper and the base pages because we've got a lot of images and they're kind of like at the same value. They're smaller, so by using that circle to ground them, it will really help me form my small clusters. So here I'm going to add my title. And then you can see here that I added little dots here. So I'm repeating a lot of the same elements in the same clusters. Now here, definitely you can add another photo, you can add your journaling, but I decided to pull from the PML cards or the Picture My Life cards and just see if I could add something to this area right here. Now, because those pumpkins are kind of predominant, I had to find something that would fit, and I think this one fits perfectly. It's not fighting with my title, and it's just adding to the page. So you can see here that I've completed all of those clusters, and I tried to add kind of the same elements in each of them. So you'll have a leaf, a pumpkin, a little dot, and the same thing over here. I've got those little dots, I've got those leaves. So I think that even though these stickers are a little bit small, I was able to cluster them in such a way that they look great together. I've got my sticker here. This is not glued down because I don't have my photo right now. I really like the way this cluster turned out with the title. And right here, again, you could add another 4x6 photo, or you could definitely do your journaling. Now for layout number 2, I went all in and I dove in to the digital art collection, and it is absolutely fantastic to work with. Now, if you're not a fan of digital collection, I've got a few options for you. So here I'm laying down all of the pieces that come in this layout. What I love about these digital collection is that they almost always have a pre-done layout. And this is where this pre-done layout took me. Of course, I'm going to add sunflowers. on these clusters, they just had to make an appearance, because once this page is all put together, you will see that it is absolutely gorgeous. Now I'm going to show you how to shape your pieces just to give them more character. Now here are all of the pieces for those sunflowers. And you'll notice this one right here. It's supposed to represent seeds, but even on my maker, once I kind of shrunk this down, it was really hard to cut. So I'm not going to use that piece. And it's actually kind of a time saver because it does take a little bit of time to cut. Now here I'm just using a soft surface, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to add veining lines to this fern type branch looking, and it just instantly looks better. It's not as flat looking, and it just gives it a little bit more movement. So definitely you need a stylus, and just go gently. It is paper, you don't want to pierce through it. And also I'm going to go ahead here and I'm going to pinch all of these little leaves. I did go ahead and I did ink distress all of these images with toffee ink. I've used toffee on pretty much all of them except for the sunflower. I added a little bit of Sundance. So let's talk about this sunflower. Now when you look at it here, it's pretty flat. I'm actually showing you here how it goes together. So you've got a large petal right in the center, and when you add this one on top of each other, they offset and they form the entire sunflower. Like, it's really only two pieces. So because I love sunflowers and I try to grow them in my backyard, but it really is not happening because of all the squirrels, I could definitely make them really pretty out of paper. So here I'm just using a regular stylus, and I'm just adding some little lines to each of the petals because a sunflower is very veiny, if you want. So this simple little add-on here makes this flower stand out so much. So I'm just going ahead and I'm not making them straight, I'm just randomly pulling them through. The next step I'm going to do, as I mentioned before, I did ink distress all of the pieces with toffee, so I decided to add a little bit of toffee to the tips of all of the petals. And I'm just going ahead here and I'm showing you the entire process. If you want to skip ahead to the next layout, you can do so. Everything is timestamped in the description down below. But I thought it was important to show you how I shape these really pretty sunflowers. So I'm going to pinch each of the leaf, or the petals I should say. I'm just going to pinch them gently up, and then the next step is I'm going to add a little bit more color to each of them. So I'm going to bring in the Sundance right here, and I am going to add that to, again, each of the petals. And because I've done that veining inside, you can really see it now with the distressing with this extra step right here. So you just keep on pinching them up and adding a little bit of color. It also hides the white core. When I do paper flowers, I usually try and hide the white core. I just find that it looks more finished that way. It takes a little bit of time, but you know what? I think it is absolutely worth it. So I'm just going to pinch these, and then we are going to work on the base, which is 2 pieces. So again, if you put your bottom sunflower the way that I have it here, there's like 2 smaller leaves at the top and 2 larger ones at the bottom. So this is the orientation. The larger leaves are at the top, the smaller ones are at the bottom, and this single large one goes right in the center, and then it just nestles perfectly one on top of the other. So I'm just going to pop that right on there. Of course, when you do your first one, you're probably going to flip around a few times until you find that perfect offsetting of these two pieces, but once you do a few of them, you'll be a pro. So the next step right here, I'm using Mocha ink. So this larger circle here is on the light side of Mocha, and I'm kind of gradually getting darker as the circle is getting smaller. This next one right here is done in Mocha, but in dark. And then I did use white core black cardstock here, and I'm going to add Sundance, and I think that it looks really, really sharp. So that is an advantage of having a white core cardstock. You can color it whichever color you would like. So we're going to add those three pieces together, and I'm going to use a larger embossing tool. You need something with a larger kind of ball on the end, because I'm literally just rubbing that all along the edges of that circle, and that circle is a scallop circle, so it's actually kind of looks like a pop bottle cap once it's all done. I'm not sure if that makes any sense to you, but you'll see when you work on it that it actually looks like a bottle cap, and it's kind of just turning up. I wanted to find a way to give this sunflower dimension, but not too much dimension, because I do realize it goes in your scrapbook and you don't want it to do all of that work for it to flatten out. But I think just by curling it up, it gives it just enough dimension to create a beautiful flower. So we're going to add these pieces together, and I'm just using regular Tombow glue here. We're going to pop that right on here, and I don't know, but once you put that center of the sunflower, it just completes it. It looks pretty awesome. I think it does, considering this is all done out of paper. I really like the way that this turned out. So you've got the nice contrast with the inking, and you've got the little veining of each of the petals. I think it's pretty good considering it started with plain old cardstock. So for these leaves, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to ink distress them using toffee, and it looks a little bit dark here. It does go on dark, but when it dries back, it looks absolutely fine. You could ink distress in green to make it more vibrant, but I just felt that it's just another step and another color to keep track of. So again, here I'm using a larger ball of a stylus, and I am just kind of curling the edges in, not too much, and I give it a little pinch in the center, and then I'm going to pull back on those leaves. And when I add these to my page, I will use 3D foam tape on each of the side of the petal or the leaf, because I do want it to keep its shape once it's in my scrapbook. But again, it's not really dimensional, it's just really paper shaping at this point. Alright, so I hope that you've enjoyed seeing how these come together, because they are so much fun to make. Here's the completed layout with all of those gorgeous leaves and flowers and layers. I think it was totally worth the effort, and I hope you agree. So here you see that I've got 3D foam tape on that small one, and here I can show you right underneath those leaves. I just add a little bit of foam tape just to give them, or to help them keep their shape once they're in my scrapbook. Now I also decided to add a few stickers from the sticker sheet. So I brought that in because I kind of left the sunflowers on the sticker sheet and anything that was kind of flower related, and I tucked them in here and there just to kind of finish that cluster. Why not? We already have the stickers, why not use them? Now you're probably thinking, you know what, I'm not a digital person, I don't want to do the Cricut thing. You could absolutely use your PML cards right here to further embellish your page. The sketch at the back is pretty standard, not too much is going on, so this is very adaptable for whichever skill level you feel most comfortable at. But I do like those sunflowers. I'm a bit partial to them, right? All right, so let's move along to layout number 3. Now this one again is done with that digital collection, and if you look into the catalog, you will see that it's right here on page 29. I took my inspiration from the book, from that artwork, and instead of using the stamp, I actually used the digital collection. So this is another good option for you. If you don't want to do the digital collection, you could absolutely get the stamp set and it would work really great. So let's talk about how to cut all of those pieces. So what I do is that I take the time to use the mirror image on my Cricut and I flip the image over, and then when I cut, you don't see the white core as much. You can definitely ink everything, but if you want to save a little bit of time, you can flip those images over using the mirror image. And let me show you here. I'm going to try and bring this up close. So here's an L, and this is what it looks like when I pull it off and it's been mirrored. So I just turn that cardstock over, but this is what it would look like if I was using the front of it. So if you don't like to see those harsh white lines, try the mirror image on Cricut and you might be pleasantly surprised on how those white lines don't show up as much. I wanted to quickly go over the paper tearing technique here for this layout, and you'll see that I have very small pieces. They're not very narrow, but by using a simple water brush, you can absolutely control where you tear that paper. It's simple, it's easy, and it works perfectly every time. So I'm just drawing a water line along my piece right here. I'm going to let it soak inside the paper a little bit, and then I'm going to tear towards me because I do want to see the white core of the pattern paper. So it's as easy as that. And I find that you end up not wasting a lot of paper because, well, for me anyways, I need a larger or a wider piece so that I can actually try and tear it in the way that I like. But when I use a water brush, I don't have to use a wide piece. I just put the water line where I want it and I just tear away. So it'll be more evident when I do it with this small piece right here. I'm just going to do a quick dry fit here just to see exactly where I need to tear this small piece, and you'll see that I have to go right up against the edge, like right here, and I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't do this water technique. Definitely I'm going right along the edge of that cut piece and I am just going to tear that paper, and it's going to work perfectly. So if you've never tried this technique before, I highly recommend it. It's saved me a lot of paper. Sometimes you need every inch of that beautiful pattern paper. In this case here, I'm actually using the mix in, so you do have extra if you don't tear properly, but I think that it's a really efficient way of using water and paper and making it behave the way you want it to. So again, I wanted to touch on this layout right here. Was inspired by the layout on page 29, and you'll see that the colors are different. And that's all part of the creative process. When I prepare a workshop, I work out all of the papers so that I can spread them out on 3 gorgeous layouts, and this way I make sure that I have enough of the patterns and they're all separated. And I also like to color match them. You'll see here that I used predominantly the sapphire, and I really like the way that it turned out. So we're going to add our title here, and I loaded it up with 3D foam tape. It fits right here at the bottom. And I'm just going to add that to my page. And just like that, layout number 3 is all done. I really like the tearing here of the paper. I love the title. And of course, because it said Hello Pumpkin, I decided that I was going to add a few pumpkins on this side here. Now, when you cut the digital collection, you have this background piece for your cluster. So if you're not 100% on where all of those pieces go, you can absolutely use this base to help you when you are adding your cluster together. So I'm just adding all of the pieces here just to show you that this is another benefit of these Cricut collections or the digital art collections that we offer. You can add all of these gorgeous pieces and they are all done for you, all the way down to the coloring of them. Now, I did change up some of the colors, but for the most part I stayed true to those clusters. So here I'm building that up and I'm realizing, oh, wait a minute, this little blue guy goes down here and then the rose goes right in the center. So that is how it comes in the collection. But I felt that it was going to kind of limit where I could move my pieces, so I decided not to use this background because I'm adding more pieces. I'm adding pumpkins, I'm adding branches. I really do like the way that it turned out. Now, if you're not a digital person, you can absolutely use this stamp set right here. I'm just showing you options where I use the digital collection. You can absolutely use this stamp set and replace all of these clusters with a stamp or with PML cards. Now, for this title, you could use this one right here. And then at the very top, I love this cluster of all 3 of them. I love bringing in that blue. I think that that looks really sharp. And then you can also fussy cut. I'm not a fan of fussy cutting, and I think that's why I usually gravitate to a digital collection or to Cricut, but you could absolutely use your PML cards to layer up and further embellish your layouts. I do love that these ones were done with the digital collection, and if you notice here, they weren't shape. I did add a little bit of distressing with the toffee ink, but I did not shape these ones. They are just layered one on top of each other with a few 3D foam dots. Now, at this stage in the assembly, this is where my stickers, like I've used most of them, some of them, and I find it a little bit hard to see what I have left to play with. So I usually pull back on the negative part and I rearrange them so that I can kind of take a look at them, have like a second glance. And this is when I decided, you know what, I think I'm going to add something up here. I'm going to add this really pretty cluster of flowers. I really like the way that it completes the digital collection. And I'm going to add a few word titles right here. This one here is a kind of a sure thing. It doesn't matter what kind of photos I have. I think that it will look great. And when I add my photos, I'll come back to the sticker sheet and I might add a few little hearts or more word art. Definitely, it's a way to kind of look at your stickers and see what you can do with all of them when you're at your layout or your last layout, layout number 3. I really like the way that this turned out. And if you stick around here, I'm going to show you very quickly how to load your digital collection. After you've purchased the digital collection, you will go back to your name and you will click that. Under account, you will see on the left hand side, digital library. It should be right there. And you'll also notice there's a little download button. So I just click on the download and I put it onto my computer. I have a folder called Digital Collections. And then when I get the zip file, I just right click and extract here. Once all of the individual SVGs are on my computer, so that's on my side, I open a second window in Cricut. I hit the download button and I literally drag and drop every image. I also rename them in the collection that they came in, so this one here is Crisp Air, just to make it a little bit easier when I create. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope that you've picked up a few helpful tips. If you're not a subscriber, I would love for you to join. I've added a few videos here that I think you might just like. Have yourself a fantastic day.